The Home Tech Podcast is supported by listeners like you. To find out more, go to HomeTech.fm/support.
This is the Home Tech Podcast for Friday, October 5th. From Denver, Colorado, I'm Jason Griffin.
And from Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson. Jason, did you get a personalized text message from the President of the United States today?
You know, it's weird because I didn't. I don't know if I somehow missed it. I'm very good at ignoring my phone during the day. I have to admit, that's an art that a skill that I have perfected.
Pretty good skill, yeah.
As of late, but yeah, I heard all about it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like one of those Amber Alert things, or if you have a flash flood in the area, you get one of those like crazy sirens on your phone and it goes off. And
right,
I don't think like there's any way to turn it off. Like it's like this is what they're using for terrorist attacks and that kind of thing. You know, if something something major happens that we all need to know about, you know, if missiles are heading towards Hawaii, they're going to use this again. And yeah, so like I'm surprised. I'm
literally scrolling through my notifications right now, and I don't see it there either.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Jason. I think you get left behind. I think that's all there is to it.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I'm not too sure either this day and age.
It's hard to tell now. Huh, interesting. Well, I'll keep you posted. Maybe I'll get lucky and it'll come through like in the middle of the night and wake me up.
Right. It's very, very delayed. Warning.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to know if anyone else didn't get it because, yeah, these things are supposed to go out, I guess, to everyone. I'm not sure how that technology works, but nope. I must say I did not receive it. I've been seeing a lot of pretty funny memes going around about it today, though. So I did catch some of those.
Yeah, plenty of jokers around. So yeah, but it was interesting. I'm glad they have something like that up and running. It definitely could be. Hopefully, it'll never get used again or never get used other than for a test every once in a while. But if they do need to use it, hopefully it saves some lives too.
Right. Well, we are back after a rare week off. I spent last week, was out on the East Coast for a couple of weeks there, and spent last week, was out in Boston with the One Vision team, which is always a great time, getting out there and getting some FaceTime with the team, but is always super busy when I go and jam-packed with dinners and catching up with people. So was not able to make it last week, but excited to be back here. I got home yesterday. We're recording Wednesday, and I got home yesterday, and last night was the first night in the house, and I got it was an interesting night. I received a phone call from my next door neighbor at 2:30 in the morning. Generally, not a good thing.
Yeah,
So,
I'm going to say on national alerts with the things going off, phone call from the neighbor at 2:00. No, that's definitely going to be worse.
You'll go with the national alert.
No, I'll go with the. Yeah. I definitely want to get the phone call from the neighbor. Something's gone down if that's the case. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, my neighbor called and I picked up the phone and it turns out that the sump pump in their basement had started going, and that thankfully woke them up, and they, you know, my neighbor, his immediate thought was, oh, great, you know, I have a pipe that burst in my home. And so he's, of course, running around the house trying to figure out what's going on, and comes outside to inspect around the house and notices that on the front corner of my house, there's a hose spigot, which, mind you, I've never once used. The kids never go to this part of the house ever. And it was wide open, full bore open, spewing water out of the side of my house. And I can laugh about it now because thankfully there was no damage to either my home or my neighbor's home. My water bill is going to be painful this month, I'm sure. But yeah, it had to be some probably neighborhood punk running around playing a prank. And it was a rude awakening. Definitely disappointed that would happen. And so, went to Home Depot today and got the low-tech solution. They make little locks that you can put over the hose spigot, which I never knew before, but I would encourage everybody, if you have one, a hose spigot that you're not using or you're going to be gone for a while, I would lock that up. And the other thing I did, Seth, today that makes this relevant is I did go online and purchase a flow for my home, because with their technology, I thought it was really interesting to think about that. You know, traditional water leak detection systems wouldn't have picked that up. because they're based on water inside of your home.
Right.
But Flo would have noticed this massive uptick in water spewing out of my house at 2:00 in the morning, and it would have alerted me, and I would have either gotten up and caught it, or it, would have shut the water off. So definitely, I think a good example of where technology, this stuff is fun and entertaining, and we love all of that, but a great example of where the right technology in place would have prevented that from being as big of an issue as it was, even though thankfully wasn't a huge one. Would have saved me a few bucks on the water bill for sure.
Right. And what kind of punk goes around and turns on water? I mean, come on.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah. Oh, well, kids. What are you going to do?
Terrible. So, yeah, we'll be taking some additional measures out there to probably get some cameras put up and stuff, which is something I've been thinking about doing anyways. And it's so affordable and easy to do now that we'll probably be going ahead and pulling the trigger on some of those as well.
There may be some relevant stuff here. So what do you say we jump into some home tech headlines?
Let's do it.
So for cameras, it's holiday season. And on October 9th, Google and Nest are holding a press event to announce their new products and services for the fall. While we don't know what Google will announce this year, last year, Google and Nest introduced the Nest Hello Video Doorbell, Nest Secure Monitor Security System, the outdoor Nest IQ camera, the Google Home Max and the Google Home Mini, and a bunch of AI efforts that revolved around video analytics and automation. So, Jason, if it's anything like last year, you might lose some more money in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it sounds like a big one. Looks like CE Pro will be hosting also a day after webcast with their Google Senior Director of Google Home, Google Smart Home, Michelle Turner. So we'll have a registration link to that in the show notes at HomeTech.fm/228. Speaking of Google, their annual fall hardware event coming up, one of the expected upgrades to be announced to the Chromecast line appears to have been rather foolishly or embarrassingly leaked by Best Buy, which accidentally sold the unannounced product to a customer who picked it up off the shelf, this being reported via Android Police. The customer, who posted a photo of the product and an account of the story on Reddit under the name Grove Street Homie, shout out to Grove Street Homie, says it didn't even show up in Best Buy's system, but that the cashier rang up the product under a listing for an older Chromecast.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I saw that it didn't work yet either because it requires a new version of the Home app, which isn't out yet. So, I guess you get
there
what
you
you pay for. All right.
Yeah, that's right.
Last week, SiriusXM and Pandora have announced acquisition plans before the stock market opened. SiriusXM is offered to acquire Pandora. SiriusXM offered to acquire Pandora for $3.5 billion in fake money stock, or at $10.14 per share. Pandora would continue to exist as an independent service. The acquisition is expected to close in the first quarter of 2019. I don't know. This is like streaming services for old people to me. Like, I mean, okay, so don't get me wrong. I like SiriusXM.
Ouch.
Yeah, well, we have SiriusXM and we used to have it in both cars. Now we have one car that has the radio, so we just kept it in there. It's great for those long road trips and that kind of thing. Like, would definitely recommend having it for road trips. But like Pandora, man, I haven't listened to Pandora in such a long time. But I can tell you, as an integrator, setting up streaming systems, every single client I had, and they were mostly older, like, they were retirees here in Florida. Every one of them had Pandora. That was the service to set up.
Yeah. Well, they were really like the first big household name in pure streaming, and now there's tons of options. But they sort of pioneered a space in a certain sense, and so we'll be interested to see how this plays out. Speaking of acquisitions, Johnson Controls announced that it has acquired the assets of Lux Products Corporation, a leader in residential thermostats and smart home products. Lux markets several successful residential and commercial lines ranging from timers to smart home thermostats, including Kono and Geo. This announcement comes shortly after the launch of Johnson Controls' new Glass, spelled GLAS, a, quote, stunning new smart thermostat that features OLED display, among other high-tech features.
And in even more acquisition news, Comcast has outbid everybody else to buy Sky over there in the UK. We talk a bunch about Sky boxes here with our good friends over in the hub that are overseas in the hub. They talk about Sky quite often, and I noticed this name and said, well, this is great. Comcast has taken the winning bid of about $40 billion to purchase Sky after a 3-round auction managed by a UK's takeover panel. The auction final round, each company submitted a sealed bid, and guess what? Comcast unfortunately won. Sorry guys, you're gonna experience the pain that is Comcast over in the UK now.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Enjoy. I saw a headline too that I guess a bunch of analysts were sort of beating up Comcast for overpaying for whatever that's worth. Probably not much, but anyways, interesting to see that. Like you said, Sky definitely a household name with our friends across the pond. Speaking of TV, last week Roku announced its most affordable 4K streaming media players ever. The Roku Premier and Roku Premier Plus, priced at $40 and $50 respectively. Wow, crazy. Both devices incorporate quad-core processors, 802.11 BGN wireless networking, Dolby and DTS digital surround, and the Premier Plus also includes a voice remote. Pretty solid offering there.
Yeah, it's 2018, and we have a 4K player with Dolby and DTS digital surround for $40. That's wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah, don't buy
it. Really is. It really is.
Apple TV is still sitting around $200. So some numbers you mentioned there, Jason, were kind of confusing, but if you've ever bought a Wi-Fi router, you may have had to sort through the specs, and that they read like complete gibberish, like you just said, 802.11 BGN. But going forward, the Wi-Fi Alliance is adopting version numbers, so it'll be easier to tell whether the router or device you're buying is on the latest version. This is something that should have happened 2 decades ago.
Brilliant. Yeah, we need a sound effect for, overdue innovation.
Let's see. All I got is this one. There we go.
Okay. That'll work for tonight.
Yeah. Instead of wondering what AC means, or N or B or G or Z or whatever the heck they decide to come up with, you get a number. And the logos look really good. It's got the little Wi-Fi logo with a number on it. Like, it makes sense.
The best stories are the simplest ones, right, Seth?
Yep, absolutely.
Interesting to me, I noticed in this story that they listed Wi-Fi version 2. Like, they listed out which one is which, 1 through 5. And Wi-Fi version 2 is 802.11a. And I always hear BGN, and then there's AC, of course. To be honest, I don't even really remember a version A.
Yeah, so you're not the only one. I don't remember it. I remember B. B was around. It was horrible. And maybe A was so bad, because it doesn't. I don't think A came after. I think A actually came after B or something like that. I don't know.
They're both listed in 1999, and we're getting a comment in the chat room from Doc Brown. No one remembers A.
Yeah,
and that's probably for a reason. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of really smart networking people.
Here's my real-time follow-up on the Wikipedia page. 802.11a products started shipping late, lagging behind 802.11b products due to the 5 gigahertz components being more difficult to manufacture. So yeah, no one remembers A because B already got out there and was widely adopted, and then later on A came into enterprise, which is why we never saw it. And by that time,
interesting, everything
else started taking over with BG and moving on to the higher technologies with faster speeds and everything. It's kind of wild to think about. Wi-Fi is not really that old. It was in the 2000s before it was standard to have Wi-Fi in a laptop. That's pretty crazy.
And the last 3-minute conversation that we just had is proof, if you needed any, that version numbers will be handy.
Yeah. We should go back and edit the version numbers in on top of that. I'm not going to.
Right. Anyways, moving on to our last quick headline here. Samsung announced its first QLED 8K TV back in August, so just recently. Now the 85-inch Q900R smart TV is available for pre-order for a mere $15,000. No word yet on whether the 65-inch, 75-inch, and 82-inch sizes will be available for pre-order, but the 85-inch TV will begin shipping on October 28th.
That's wild, huh? Because I remember maybe 2 years ago, 4K TVs were 85-inch, and they were $25,000. So the sizes are going up, the prices are coming down on the same kind of technology, except this is 8K, which is better because it's more than 4, I guess. This is just like Wi-Fi. These guys figured it out before the Wi-Fi alliance.
Yeah, the higher the number before the K, the better.
Yeah, I have 20K TVs before too long that don't. Oh, this is the one with the little ambient mode thing where you take the picture of your wall before you mount it and you have the bricks behind it. Remember we were talking about that? They have.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, that'll be nice. I'll take 2. 15K, that's it. Come on.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah, that's at least what you're going to pay for that water bill.
Don't talk to me like that. That's horrible.
All right. Well, this week, Cavo introduced Control Center, an entertainment hub. Let's see. I got to push the button. 3. There we go. Entertainment hub and universal voice-controlled remote that unites everything connected to your TV. You remember we've talked extensively about the original Cavo, which is the zebra wood version. This new one, unfortunately, does not come in zebra wood. But
man,
it only comes in any color you want.
Lost me.
Yeah, any color you want as long as it's black. And
right.
Let's see.
Right.
Which I think for AV components is probably the best thing, best color they could have. Quite honestly.
Tried and true.
Yep, tried and true. Instead of 8 HDMI inputs, this has 4. It has many of the same features, but what it does get is a new remote with voice input. So it's going to have voice assistants, including Google and Alexa built in. Oh, God. There we go. One cool feature. At
least you did it first.
Yeah. One cool feature I thought, you can press a button on the Cavo to find your remote. Like I've seen a couple of, I think some of the cable boxes have that feature on it now, where I think DirecTV or something like that, where you press a button on the cable box and your remote will start beeping around somewhere in the house, wherever they've got that feature built in. But you can also yell over at Google or Alexa and get the same thing happen. Like it'll find your remote. So I thought that was pretty cool. This huge feature that the original Cavo didn't have, but this one does have, has HDR and Dolby Atmos, which was a big ding. People were really tearing them apart for releasing this 8-port HDMI receiver without any HDR support.
Yep.
Right when HDR TVs were coming out. And I think this is kind of like the biggest part of this. It retails for $99.95, and it has like a $20 a year or $2 a month service fee attached to it, which is way better than the $400 a month or $400 price point the Zebrawood version was at.
Right. Yeah, this is a big move for them. Big story, I think. I know that we talked several times on the show about Cavo. We've never had them on, but we're certainly going to reach out and hopefully have somebody join us from the company to talk about this. My first overall impression, my biggest impression of this story is what is like it seems like on the surface, and I haven't gone and compared the spec sheets, but other than the number of HDMI inputs, which is down from 8 to 4, this thing seems to have everything that the original had and then some, other than Zebrawood, right? We talked about that. But
definitely going to miss the Zebrawood.
Yeah, it seems like everything and then some, with a couple exceptions, and it's a quarter of the price. It's $100. And I think this looks like very, very compelling. I have no idea what kind of margin they're doing on this, and certainly seems to be much more of a volume play for the company, whereas the previous unit looked more boutique and focused on a more niche audience. But I'm really, really intrigued to see how this thing does in the market. And I think the promise of Cavo, as somebody who has recently, in the last 6 to 8 months, really begun using more streaming services for both me and my wife and my kids, and we just watch a lot more content on streaming than we used to. And the the struggle is real, right? Like trying to remember when my kids want to watch Daniel Tiger versus, Bubble Guppies versus whatever other show they discovered the other day with my wife that I've never even heard of.
You gotta watch. Get on the Puff and Rock train, man.
And it's like they're asking me for the show, and I have to remember where to look, and I may not even know. And so having a search that works across different, not just across different apps like you can do with Apple's TV app, but across multiple devices, that's a pretty cool technology. And I know there's questions on your end, Seth, about is it a wedge solution, and does this whole problem eventually get solved in some other way that I suppose would be just purely software based? And I don't know, but I think it's a really innovative and intriguing technology. And at $100 plus, a couple dollars a month for the monthly service fee, I don't know, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, I mean, that it being a wedge device is kind of what I've been like. This is like one of those things that you buy that has the possibility of getting replaced. I'm trying to think of a good example of what this be, and I'll probably think of it later on. But like, I won't say TiVo, because TiVo had like TiVo was definitely replaced. It's definitely been replaced by software and apps and the cable company doing their own boxes and that kind of thing. But for the most part, it held its ground simply because it was kind of like initially it was a one of a kind type device. Like you couldn't really go anywhere else and get a TiVo experience. And if something like that exists with Kavo, I think they have a longer ways to go than I'm giving them credit for. But I'm not. I have to wonder, like, this device is what Apple is trying to do with the TV app, right? Like the little app that's a TV app that tells you, you log into it and it's like, this is what's up next. This is what you were watching. You may want to watch this. Like that's what they're trying to do. And they're going up against a couple $100 billion company that treats this as a hobby. So it's kind of like it's a head scratcher for me. Like I have to wonder what the end game is here for Kavo. But at the same time, like you said, the $100 price point is a good price point. I think it's way better than the $400 just unsure if this thing's going to exist in 6 months type price point that came out. And you know what? I put my money where my mouth is this time, and I went ahead and got one. So
there you go.
Come Monday, I'm going to have one of these sitting on the workbench to test out and work and see how exactly it controls two Apple TVs that I have sitting here. I really don't have anything on my desk other than like an Apple TV. So it will be interesting to see what all it will do at that price point. And I may like bring it out into the field and see what, maybe hook it up at relatives' houses and see, how exactly it works for them. If they like using it and that kind of thing. So I don't know. We'll see how it works. And I fully intend to kind of document this process and do kind of a deep dive video review on it, not like just an unboxing or anything like I did last time, but like something a little bit more like I gave these guys pretty hard time, especially for that Zebrawood in the past. And I definitely want to try.
You did.
Yeah. And I mean, even in our show notes, most people didn't notice this, but I from time to time I do chapter artwork, and there was a nice little HomeTech logo, and it had changed over to the Zebrawood for that.
Little Easter egg.
Yeah,
huh?
Little Easter eggs in there. I mean, right. there was definitely pot shots taken, but I want to give these guys a chance here to defend the product. And I think if honestly, this is out of nowhere for me. Like I had no idea that they were going to even exist anymore. So I'm happy to see that something like this comes out. I mean, this at $100, this is like directly up against Harmony, right? Like this with all it offers, Google.
Oh yeah.
Google and Alexa integration. Like this is right up against Logitech. Like there's no doubt in my mind that this could be as good, if not better, as Logitech. So anything that wants us to shut that company down, I will support and investigate further.
Yeah, it definitely does go up against them in the entertainment space. I think the Logitech, obviously big established company, they've got quite a head start in terms of integrating with a broader smart home ecosystem, and who knows, you know, that could be on the roadmap for Cavo in terms of what is the end game here, and purely speculation, but you know, that could be one thing that they go after. But it is hard to say, like I was saying, it's such an innovative and different approach that it's very hard to, there's really nothing you can compare it directly to. I know there's a couple of comments in the chat room. Anthony Rayner, price point major deal for me, so totally agree. I mean, $100 is a steal for what this thing can do. By the way,
it was literally a no-brainer. Like, as soon as they sent that to me, I'm like, oh God, Cavo, not again. And then I started reading it, I'm like, oh, $100. Like, okay, you've got my attention now, sir.
Right.
I'll subscribe to your newsletter.
Yeah. So, and by the way, we've been talking about this quite a bit, and we didn't fully assume that you know exactly what it does. But if you're having trouble, like if you're not familiar with this and you haven't heard our previous conversations about it, well, obviously we'll have links up in the show notes at HomeTech.fm/228, including a great YouTube video on YouTube that Cavo put together that I think does a really nice job of explaining what this device does in a way that makes it fairly easy to understand. So I don't know. I mean, I do see it as the core problem that they're solving right now may have a fairly finite shelf life on it, but the length of time that is, it's hard to say. Like, you look at the story we just talked about tonight, $50 4K, what was it, Roku, $50 4K Roku. It's probably going to be a Chromecast that comes out at this new event that's super cheap. Apple TVs, a lot of people have them. They're higher on the price spectrum, but you know, these devices are becoming so ubiquitous and so inexpensive that I think there's going to be a fairly long time where people have a lot of these devices in the home. And if you can now go out and spend $100 to get a device that makes them all work together, and you have your shows that you love on this device and other shows that you love on the other device, and you're able to very seamlessly pull them in to one interface that's easy enough for people in the home to pick up and use, then that seems pretty valuable. So I really like what they're doing, and I want to see this company succeed. But I'm with you. It's a little bit of a head scratcher for sure.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this thing comes in Monday, I think. I was like, man, I hope they ship from like New Jersey and I see this in 3 days, but nope, it comes from California. So
got it.
It's taking the slow boat, and I'll have it Monday and take it apart, take it out of the box, put it through its paces, and I may even take it apart and see what's inside. I like doing that. So yeah, all right. Yeah, see some green boards.
Cool, man. Well, we look forward to it. I know I speak for other listeners of the show when I say that I look forward to hearing about your experience with it. Like you said, it sounds like you've only got a couple Apple TVs. Maybe you need to go buy one of those new Rokus as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, at $40, I mean, it's half the price of this, but I only get one HDMI out. So, yeah. I mean, this if you go look at their works with list, like for Cavo, like it works with Roku. It works with Amazon. So the Fire TV, it works with a bunch of stuff. Like I'm going through and like looking at the list. I'm like, okay, yeah, I use that. Sonos Plex is on here. Voodoo's on here. So they have set up a platform here that I think will serve them well moving into the future. So I've got a bunch of this stuff like Hulu. I've got Netflix. I'll probably end up subscribing to Showtime for a certain documentary that airs this Sunday. I've got HBO that's on here as well. Yeah, HBO Now and Go are on here. So, I mean, it's like that's a huge amount of things that's pretty much everything I watch, and I only use the Apple TV. Like, and to put it all in one little box that I can put with my TV for $100, and then I can plug in local sources that work with it too. Hey, that's great. So
right.
I'm genuinely curious to see what this does moving forward. So
yeah,
could be cool.
Look forward to hearing about it. All right, very good. Well, all of the links and topics that we have discussed tonight can be found in our show notes at HomeTech.fm/228. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter, and we'll send you some show reminders and periodic updates to let you know what's going on. Just look for the subscribe button there on the right-hand side. Once again, the link is HomeTech.fm/228.
Yep, and don't forget you can join us in the chat room live Wednesday. Hey, we're back on Wednesdays, starting at 7:30 Eastern. Find out more at HomeTech.fm/live. We actually got started just about on time today, so that's pretty good.
We did. We try. It's a labor of love. You got to bear with us sometimes. All right, cool. We got what do we got? Two picks of the week?
No, just one.
Just one. The Nest doorbell.
Yep. So this is a Twitter thing I ran across. It's we were talking about Nest and their AI earlier, and it reminded me of this one. So this guy writes, I have to go look at his status. BJ May. He writes, my Nest doorbell automatically locks the front door when it sees a face it doesn't recognize. Today it didn't recognize me, so I went into the app to investigate.
Oh man,
so
that is really funny.
Yeah, too good. The Nest actually, he's wearing a T-shirt with Batman on it, and the Nest decided that the Batman, he's the Batman. So Batman's at his front door. You better lock it down.
That is really funny. That's a great one.
AI.
And I'm looking this. Yeah, this guy has 8,900, almost 9,000 retweets on this post from a guy who's got 592 followers.
There you go.
At BJ May. So it's safe to say this one went viral.
It definitely did. No, I cracked up when I saw it. But that's kind of like the little false positives that we talk about with AI and just about anything automated. You're going to get these false positives, and if your doorbell thinks you're Batman, it's going to lock your door.
It's going to lock you out. Don't wear that Batman shirt. That's really funny. That's a good one. All right, cool. Well, we got a mailbag entry this week, Seth. We got a good one from friend of the show, Robert Spivak. And this is a response to a show we did 2 weeks ago, actually, because we took last week off. But I thought it was a good one and wanted to bring it up and get your reaction to it and talk about it for a couple of minutes. So he said, great podcast, Seth and Jason, but I think you missed the most significant part of Amazon's spaghetti release, he called it. So I think he may have coined that one. ACK, the Alexa Connect kit. Oh, damn it. I almost went the whole show. Damn you, Robert. This is a turnkey module that allows makers, developers, indies, and big companies to embed into any device with very little effort, low upfront cost, and simple licensing, including back-end infrastructure from AWS. I'm going to skim through the rest of this here very quickly. The significance of this is even greater when you look at what it takes to build, manufacture, and certify a HomeKit device through the M5 program, both time and money, very onerous. In some ways, the clock and microwave were mostly examples to developers and manufacturers of what they can do rather than Amazon trying to really push the new product categories as big winners. I buy that. I don't think Amazon is super excited about smart microwaves. I think they're trying to demonstrate what's possible there. So totally agree with that. And finally, he says, just the fact that Amazon will provide cloud services ongoing for your connected device for only a one-time fee means a huge subsidy by Amazon, eliminating a lot of the ongoing operations cost of cloud-connected products. So very thoughtful and detailed feedback there from Robert. We really appreciate it.
Yep. I think we briefly mentioned this on the show in passing. It wasn't like anything we covered in depth. So this is definitely a much better idea of what developers and manufacturers can do with this type of device. I would put two asterisks on this. One is this, this, not that Apple's any better, but this definitely locks you into the Amazon program, that you're not going to use the same infrastructure to develop a what is it called? Alexa? Yeah, and / Apple HomeKit compatible device. Like you're not you're not going to do that. So this is going to lock you into Amazon with your device, and you're going to use Amazon services, and you're going to be locked into their cloud services, which they say now they are providing for free or one-time fee or whatever. But that can change as we know anything with this business in Amazon, especially Amazon. Those things can change all the time. So it is an interesting product. It is an interesting service that they're providing. I want to say Microsoft came out with something that's like exactly like this a couple of months back. I think we briefly covered that as well. So this is them giving you reference hardware to basically or chips and that kind of thing to just basically here's where you start and start using. You can basically make a microwave pretty easily with this one little device and make it smart. But we'll see what happens with it. I mean, it's not like they are hurting for any number of amount of like products and pieces to be integrated with the Amazon platform. Like it doesn't seem like they're hurting. They're just making it a little bit more easy to get involved and lock down. So we should like the biggest thing is like this is yes, it's nice, but it also is this locks you down. Like you are definitely locked down to Amazon,
right?
And you won't see companies like Philips Hue do this because it's going to lock them out of going with Google Home or Apple HomeKit. Like they'll just be exclusively making a device that works with Amazon. So that's at least that's from my understanding. Let us know if we're wrong, or let me know if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But from what I was reading and my understanding, it's definitely a lockdown play too. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, there's always two sides or more to the story, right? And so it's worth pointing that out. Doc Brown in the chat room saying nothing is free when you aren't paying for it. You or your information is the real product. So interesting what Alexa may, because I didn't even need to say it that time.
I was trying to get over there.
Interesting what Amazon may be doing there. There's a good article I read from The Verge this week that I'll link in the show notes right now, Seth, so we can include it. Amazon wants to be the operating system for your life, and it talks about essentially what exactly what we're talking about right now. And it says, quote, "It's clear now that the company has every intention to make the single operating system the dominating force in the smart home. In essence, they want to be the OS for everyone's physical lives, just as Apple, Google, and Microsoft now control our digital ones." And it goes on to quote a Forrester analyst who says, "While today it looks like scattershot products being launched," referring to what Robert called the spaghetti release, or what The Verge here refers to as the blitzkrieg style marketing. "While it looks like scattershot, quote, there is a more measured long game here. Consider these products to be a gateway into the customer's lives, one that down the road will make Amazon's intelligent assistant the assistant of choice over other options because Amazon has become so ingrained." And that to me is the big play here. They want to do what they've always done better than any company on the planet. They want to make it easy to work with them. Now, they've always been known for making it easy for consumers. That's their big thing that they always want to be, is the most convenient, most easy place to buy things. But the same here, I think, extends to what they're doing with this sort of move, is they want to make it very easy and very enticing for manufacturers to build their products on the A platform. I'm just going to say it. I can't do it. The Alexa platform. And you can see why. I mean, there are a bunch of really smart people there, and they know that there's a war going on right now to own the voice control platform in people's lives over the next 2 to 5 to 10 years. And this sort of move is targeted directly at that.
Yeah, that's an interesting article. And I don't think, I think when Amazon first started the Echo systems, it was one of those, like, let's throw it against the wall and see if it sticks type products. Like they had, they had no idea what this thing was going to be used for. And I think they put it out there and people picked up, and Amazon's done a really good job of keeping up with what people wanted to use it for and developing those little, things like home automation. Like we extensively talking about using the Amazon Echo for home automation, but there are more people who don't use Amazon to turn on and off their lights than there are people who do. times the number of lights they're using to turn on. Like it's incredible how many of these devices are out there. But one of the things that I found interesting, I ran across this TechCrunch story a couple of weeks back, and I'll go ahead and put it in the show notes too. But the headline on it was, surprise, no one buys things by Alexa. So there we go. So it turns out there was a report on the information that about 50 million Amazon users. I'm not going to say it. Only about 100,000 of them reportedly bought something using the voice interface. So that's nothing. Like that's virtually no one. So moving forward, like we're talking about, like Amazon wants you to use the Echo devices in the Echo platform, which I'm not calling it by its name now because I'm not going to embarrass myself. Stupid naming. But they want you to use it. But the question has always been like, why? Well, like, of course, you want to buy more Oreos and toilet paper and stuff using this little quirky product that sits on your kitchen countertop. And I have to wonder, like, they're definitely like not selling these at a profit, right? Like I can't imagine that they are, like, too much of a profit. And I have to wonder what the longer game is. Like, do they know that these devices are just going to be basically a constant advertisement, like with a little bit of value add in it for you moving forward? I don't know. I don't know how they square this with like what we originally thought it was going to be, which is a product that, you buy toilet paper and refill your I don't know, dryer sheets with, versus like what it's kind of become, which is like this little thing that sits on your countertop and you ask how many cups are in a pint, like that's, is that all it's ever going to be? So I don't know, like everybody knows Amazon exists, right? Like we have to admit that. And I don't know if this is like just an advertising play at this point, like just to make sure that you have an Echo sitting on your kitchen. Everybody, an Echo on every countertop, that kind of thing. Like, is that the goal?
It's a good question. And I, of course, can only speculate just like most of us, but one thing that's always hard for me to wrap my brain around anytime I talk about big picture stuff as it relates to Amazon is the scale at which they operate. And when you're as big as Amazon, you can do basically whatever the hell you want, which they do a pretty good job at. But you can do things that don't have to have an immediate benefit, or you can do things that you think may have a long-term benefit. You don't know exactly what it is, but you're going to strategically throw money at it to get yourself in a better position than your competitors because you're all going after it, even though you don't know exactly what it is, if that makes sense. And there's also the pure economics of, like, even if they only by a very small margin increase the amount of Oreos and toilet paper, like you said, that they sell, a tiny percentage uptick in that sort of thing for a company that does business at the scale Amazon does represents millions, billions. I don't even know how much. That's very hard for me to even fathom.
Billions in toilet paper.
Yeah, the kind of just world that company operates in. So I agree with you. It's fun to think about and speculate, but I think ultimately at this point they, like most of us in the world, suspect that AI and voice control are big. They're the real deal. I agree. I think they sort of stumbled across this thing. They put the Echo out and didn't really know that it was going to be this smash hit. And they're bearing down right now and figuring out what that means. And while they figure out the details of that, they're going to go hard at it and try to corner as much of the market as they can.
Yeah, I mean, people like it. Don't get me wrong. Like, people, as crummy as the Echo is, like, it's a horrible product. The app is just disgusting to look at. But people like it. Like, it sits in your house. It kind of has a personality. It kind of has a temperament, so to speak. Like, maybe that's, just putting on it, but you figure out what it can do and what it can do well, and that's what it's there for, and how it fits into your life. And I think they did a good job of like finding those maybe 150 questions that get asked all the time and building that into the product initially. And people said, oh, I could use this to do this. And then it turns out they thought of that, by the time somebody figured out how to do that, it was built into it. So I think they've done it a great job of getting it in there virally. But at the same time, I still think that most people, just look at Apple. They have no idea what the HomePod does. It's there to play fancy music. But Apple's one of those companies that's when they release something, it usually has a purpose. And the only reason the HomePod exists, it seems, is to let the stock people know that, Apple can still make a speaker, I guess. It doesn't exist for any other reason. The Siri's crummy on it still. I think now it has timers. Yay. 2019, 2018 timers. Great. Yeah. Good job, guys.
Multiple timers. That's right.
But even Google, I have the Google Home sitting in front of me. Even it, for me, it's kind of all these devices are okay, well, what does it do? What is it there for? And I don't think any one of them has hit a golden example of what the product is there for in everybody's house. Everybody uses it just a little bit different. And maybe that's it. Maybe everybody using this product a little bit differently is the path to gold. And maybe I'm missing the whole point of having these devices, but I'm not seeing a continual, other than asking measurements and doing weight conversions, with this Google thing, it does a horrible job of I ask it all the time to do calculations, and it's I'm sorry, I don't know how to, so I have to go to a calculator.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
I don't think that there's, I feel I don't think I've seen a number one feature from these products that everybody uses. Everybody uses it just a little bit differently. And until that's such a broad thing. Until I think that kind of narrows back down, I still think I'm going to have this feeling what are these devices actually for? Because I have 3 of these things in the house, and I still haven't hooked them up to the lights.
Yeah,
shouldn't I be the prime target for that? Nope.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's crazy. You're 100% right, and it is definitely a fascinating time to watch the industry, and just speculate about where it's all going to go. And so I suspect we'll be doing this show in another 2, 3, 4 years from now, and who knows what we'll be speculating about then. We could still be speculating about what the heck voice control actually means for the average homeowner. But in the meantime, you've got a whole generation of kids growing up with it. I think about my kids a lot when it comes to voice control and how, they interact with these devices all the time. And what does that mean in the long run as well?
Right. Well, if you have any ideas of what voice control is and should be, and if I should go ahead and hook up the lights to the voice control assistants in my house, reach out to us, give us some feedback, questions, comments, picks of the week, or any other great ideas for a show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can visit HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form.
Absolutely. And as we always do, we want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially to those of you who are able to financially contribute to our efforts through our Patreon page. If you're not familiar with that, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support. Once again, that's HomeTech.fm/support, where you can learn how you can support the HomeTech podcast for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 will give you a big shout out on air, but every single pledge will get an invite to our private Slack channel, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day for Inside Baseball conversations about all things home technology.
Yep. And this week we had a patron actually change his pledge from $1 to $5, and we want to give him a shout out on the show. So
nice.
Yeah, this week we'd like to thank Raymond Chauvlain. So Ray, thanks very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Raymond. And again, to everybody who has supported us to date, we really, really appreciate that. If you're not able to support the show financially, we totally get that. We would greatly appreciate you taking a few minutes to leave a 5-star review on iTunes or a positive rating in your podcast app of choice. 5 stars, that's what we're shooting for, Seth.
That's the goal. We need those 5 stars.
That's right. All right, well, I had a great time chatting with you this week, Seth. Look forward to getting back together next week and talking shop with you.
Sounds great. Well, thanks everybody for joining us in the chat room. And Jason, I will talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds good. Take care, Seth.